Welcome to Stranger Connections, where I celebrate wonderfully weird people and quirky stories. I'm your curious beast and host, Lisa David Olson, the practically world famous business humorist and interactive speaker. If you haven't brought me to your group yet, why haven't you? Let's play. All right. So I want you to subscribe to the show Stranger Connections because this episode is going to have some great links to a brand new album. And I'm so excited to have this guest. All right, let me get my intro ready. Heidi is well known for her work in helping singers to find their voices and vocal range. Now, as we talk about this stuff, I want you guys to realize you don't have to be a singer to need to find your vocal range. There's all kinds of things around this, so keep that in mind. She has traveled the world and also won some awards. She's taking time out of her busy schedule to be with me. She has even performed at the Metropolitan Opera, Carnegie Hall, and I'm sure a whole lot of places in between. She's a vocal instructor, and I didn't understand that we also sing from our pelvic floors, so I'm interested in that. And she has a brand new album out that I can't pronounce. Please welcome Heidi Skok. Thank you for being on Stranger Connections.
Hi, Lisa. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so honored. It's
Well,
wonderful to
me and
see
my
you.
pelvic floor are very excited to have you on the podcast.
Good, good, good. Yeah, there's breath support is hugely important, even if you're not a singer. It's just hugely important.
Well, I gotta say, I've been digging through your work on Facebook for a long time, and then in preparation for today's episode, I was looking at some of your teaching. You teach via Zoom, and you're sitting in your office now. So if you're listening in audio, you'll see this on my YouTube channel. And the amazing thing that I saw was, as a teacher, you're on the ball. Literally. You were on one of those inflatable balls that I thought was for yoga and the gym, and you are teaching how we sing from down there. And I'm like, I think I could do this better when I'm singing along in my car, and I think I'm really helping Aerosmith. But the breath work part of it, so it's just fantastic. But I want to first go backwards and say, how the heck does a person become an opera singer?
Well, that's an interesting question because I don't really think I was looking to be an opera singer, to be honest. I mean, as a kid, I always sang pop. I mean, one of my favorite singers in the 70s when I was growing up as a young child was Donna Summers. So I I was always singing and playing and belting. I had a very belty voice, playing the piano and singing. And I was always had this low voice. As you hear, I have this low voice. And but I was told as a child that it was wrong to have that voice. So my very first voice teacher when I was 12 pushed the range up high and took the chest voice away, which was the beginning of a tough 25, pretty much 20 to 25-year vocal journey that was really down the wrong track as a soprano. And so I'm now a contralto. It's taken me a long time to find my way, but I'm finally singing in my authentic voice. So, yeah, I mean, I really wasn't looking for it. It all just kind of came to me. It was step by step. And then, I just went through Carnegie Mellon. And then after that, I was with Pittsburgh Opera. I was in the chorus. And then he really liked me and advanced me into singing solo parts. And I made my Pittsburgh Opera debut when I was 20 in 1990. And it just kind of went from there. And then I made a recording to go to Wolf Trap, which is a huge launching pad for singers in America, opera singers. And I was accepted out of several hundred applicants. And then that brought the Metropolitan Opera calling because the Met is, or Wolf Trap is really that launching pad. Everybody at any opera company looks at who's going to Wolf Trap. And so in 1991, I was going to Wolf Trap. So I, in short, ended up having an invitation to sing for the Metropolitan Opera Young Artist Development Program, which is now the Lindemann Program. And I got in within 10 minutes. And so I did that program for 3 years from 91 to 94. But it was tough because I really wasn't a soprano. And there were a lot of tough, I mean, I was vocally always fried. I'd have to plan out my days as to how I was going to get into these rehearsals and do things without being hoarse the next day because I was literally shoved up. My larynx was just so high
Mm.
and everything made me hoarse. And so, even when I was at Wolf Trap, I hate to admit this, but I do share this openly because singers, I just don't want anybody to feel shame. I was so afraid to tell anybody that I was suffering with this vocal range problem and pain in my throat when I'd sing and I'd be hoarse. And I thought maybe it was something I was doing wrong with my technique or something. So, and I was a people pleaser. I always felt I had to please everybody. So I just kind of, ended up having to take steroids, believe it or not. I was going on the side. I never told anybody during, when rehearsals, before rehearsals, I would go to a voice doctor and ask for steroids because I couldn't get through the performances. And I couldn't figure out why I couldn't get through the performances. So anyway, long story short, I loved being at the Met, but it was the wrong range. And then I went away, and then in '97, I asked them, what did I do wrong? And they said I had been with the wrong teacher. But that wasn't it. It was still, my journey took time to unfold. This whole operatic journey took a lot of time. And so after that, I ended up coming back to the Met in 1998 and did a lot of singing with them until 2003 when they retired me. And I thought that was the worst thing in the world, but it turned out to be the best thing. I needed it. It was one of my steps towards finding myself. So, and then after that, I ended up crashing and burning in 2006 when I was singing with the Albany Symphony Orchestra. It was a really super high piece with a B natural at the end, and I just couldn't do it. And I was going over it and over it and over it. And I, fried my voice. I could barely talk. And again, had to run down to New York City to the voice doctor on the side without telling anybody because I was ashamed.
Wow.
And took the steroid shot and came back, and I was able to get through it, but it wasn't good. And I felt like my whole journey as this so-called soprano was decent. I mean, I obviously made it to the Metropolitan Opera,
Yeah.
and I'm super grateful for that. I think a lot of that was my persistence. I have a persistent spirit. And sometimes that can also get you into trouble because I think I kept persisting down the wrong road. But after that, I decided, and my teacher at the time told me to switch to mezzo, which I did. But long story short, I had to raise children, and then I went through a divorce, and so things took time. But I ended up in 2019 getting back to the piano and belting again and singing these pop music things. And you can find a couple of my videos on YouTube. One that I did was Randy Newman's I Think It's Gonna Rain Today. And so that really brought this chest. It kind of brought me back down to earth, to where my voice was. And so in 2021, the NIOP, a New York International Opera program, was having a blind audition. They called it an anonymous audition project. And so I said to myself, well, now is my time to go into the studio, record something in a contralto key, not mezzo. Mezzo's higher, in a contralto key, and see how I'm received, because nobody will know that it's me except the gentleman that was running the program.
Like they couldn't see you, or
they couldn't see me. It was a blind.
It's like the voice.
Yeah, it was just the voice that people were listening to.
But that show the voice, they don't see you. They have to spin their chair around to see who it is.
Right. I mean, I simply just wanted Lisa to get the approval that I was indeed a contralto.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just prepared the one piece. It was a Wagner aria from Das Rheingold. The character's name is Erde. And I recorded it and sent it in, and I made it to the next round, to the semifinals. And so I did get to sing online, with a black screen for several German houses, but I did not advance past that, and I did not want to, because I only had that one thing, and I was supposed to have 2 and 3 and 4 things. So I had told the director of this anonymous project that I just wanted that okay. So within a week, they let me know that Jane Eaglin, the famous Wagnerian soprano, was going to be doing an online class with them for a week, and would I want to be a part of it for Wagnerian singers? And so I said yes. So I signed up, and I sang for Jane, and the first thing she said was, "Where have you been?" She definitely confirmed the contralto for me. And then the following summer, I went and did her Wagnerian program in Boston. And that was wonderful. I really worked up all my Wagner repertoire. But one thing led to another, which led to another. And so I had a career for 20 plus years as a soprano, and now I'm back out having a second career, which doesn't happen all the time, as a contralto. And I made that debut in 2023 with St. Augustine, in St. Augustine with First Coast Opera as Baba in the medium, and that's one of my primary roles now. And I had a huge success with that, and then a wonderful cast, wonderful director. And then in the fall, Tulsa Opera called me at the last minute, I had less than 24 hours notice to jump on a plane to help them with their production of the medium because their Baba had fallen sick.
Mm.
So I jumped on
Nothing's worse than
stage.
a sick baba.
I know. Because Baba's already got so many issues as it is. She doesn't need to add that to her. So, yeah, so it was, really kind of interesting because I had no rehearsal. I just had a quick walkthrough and I had general idea of what they were doing. But I just lived into the character. That's one of my characters. And so, and things have just rolled from there. And now I'm making my debut this fall again in Florida with Opera for Earth as Kwasi and Dialogues of the Carmelites. And lots of recitals. I've made my album, which I'm super excited about.
Yeah, and what's the name of that?
It's the Wesendonck-Lieder by Wagner, Richard Wagner, and I also released the Ruckert-Lieder by Mahler, Gustav Mahler. And I'm excited because, as far as I know, I've researched quite a bit and I never found anything. So if somebody found another contralto key, let me know. But as far as I know, it's the only contralto key out there in
And
this in these
to
two
us
recordings.
that may not be in that world, what does that key mean? Did
It's
you
lower
find
than
something?
it's lower than the typical key that mezzos and sopranos sing.
Wow.
So
Can we
it's
have an
like
example
the
of
low
maybe one of
key.
the lines? Can you sing something so I get the idea? I know you've got your
Sure.
piano right there.
In der Kindheit frühen Tagen hört ich oft von Engeln sagen. So it just lies lower.
Wow, wow,
The other
wow.
one I think is in der Kindheit frühen Tagen. It's a step or maybe a step and a half higher, which I can't get into those higher notes. I really kind of cap off at a G.
As you
So
should have 20 some years ago.
yeah,
Isn't
yeah,
that
it's
something? No, and
yeah,
that's a life lesson that is so much more than just the strain and putting your body through the steroid shots is just a quick fix, and
it
that's
was a
what you
quick
knew.
fix. Yeah.
In life, give me that analogy to what others should do when they feel, describe that feeling of like, I don't think this is the right spot. How can we put that into, hey, people, don't do that?
Yeah, don't be afraid. I mean, that's my biggest message. In fact, now I've joined hands. I should share with you. I've joined hands with Cleveland Clinic with the voice program there. Dr. Michael Benninger. He literally saved my life. I did have vocal cord surgery because of all the trouble that I'd had. I'd love to speak openly about this. I had vocal cord surgery on November 1st of 2022. And I have to tell you that in August of 2022, everything began to collapse on me. My voice just began to shut down. I was so vocally fatigued. And I had battled these voice problems. And over the years, when I did go to a voice doctor, they always said, well, you have a case of nodes. And nodules will most likely 99% of nodules come off, will disappear with vocal therapy. And I've helped a lot of singers overcome nodes because I've been through so much myself. I do a lot of therapy type work.
Mm.
But mine just never really went away. It was always kind of appeased, and I'd get it to flare down, and I could manage. But there was always still this roughness to the voice, and I couldn't, it would flare. Like sometimes I'd be hoarse after doing things. So I finally went to see. I went first to another hospital. And the doctor said, oh, we need to operate right away because I was supposed to be singing Baba in January. And this was like in September. January of 2023, and I really did not want to cancel that gig. I wanted to have that debut. So I was kind of like horrified. I thought, wow, really? And he wanted to operate in like 3 days. And so I called William Riley and Linda Carroll, who were two wonderful, highly regarded vocal instructors and voice therapy people in New York, in the New York City area, and I worked with them for years and have been dear friends. And I called them up and said, croaking, I've got this problem. And so they called Cleveland Clinic for me, Dr. Michael Benninger, and within 24 hours, Dr. Benninger had me in his chair and scoped me. And he looked at it and said, wow, you have a polyp on the left chord. And he thought it had been there for years. I mean, and that would make sense because when I was a child, people were always saying something was wrong with my voice because there was a rasp to it in addition to the lowness. I always felt like there was something obstructing me, but I didn't know. I thought maybe that's what it was because nobody ever told me. And I guess I never shared it because I was afraid to share it. So long story short, he took it off. I recouped very easily. I was quiet for 6 days. And then I rested my, and then I began therapy with Linda online. And within 6 weeks, I was back to singing, and I had a wonderful debut. And things felt so much easier. In fact, it had moved up. The level had moved up higher. And so Linda initially thought that I could sing mezzo, but then it very shortly after that dropped back down to contralto. And so I don't have those. I don't have the mezzo range, but I'm so grateful. And so I openly now share. The journey, because so many singers go through this. There are so many famous singers that go through this and have these issues, and they're afraid to share it because they're afraid that they'll be looked at as like not a good singer, or people will be listening to what they sounded like before the surgery and then after the surgery. I could have given a hoot about that. I really don't care. I think my journey, part of my journey is to share this. So in partnering with Cleveland Clinic, they're going to be pitching my story to all the news outlets across the country. And because I really want to help get the message out there to not be afraid or ashamed of vocal issues. It doesn't mean that you're bad. It doesn't mean that you're a bad singer. It doesn't mean that you don't know what you're doing. In my case, I was in the wrong range for so long. That was part of the aggravation.
And you
And
hear
if
that
I,
people say, I can't sing. Well, you weren't born knowing how to print your name. You weren't
right,
born knowing how to walk or just
right,
even pour a glass of water. So why
right,
do we think, oh, no, I can't sing. I'm too shy. The bird
right.
chipped in. So it's just like you have to learn it. So why not
Mm-hmm.
put some time into it? That's what I think
Right,
too. Now,
right.
for people who are, let's look at how would you break down what is opera to like a second grader? How would you explain it? Because there is acting and character involved.
Well, for me, opera is like it's theater. I mean, I know a lot of people have different versions of opera. They think that it's all about the singing voice, and it is. You really should have a great voice, and you should spend years training it. I mean, I feel like I'm never going to be done training myself. Um, I'm always, evolving. I take a lesson, at least once a month, and I coach, and I'm working on things like with my album. I totally worked with my voice teacher and coaches and everything. But I think really opera for me is more than just the voice. It's theater. And so when I step on the stage, I don't want to play any roles anymore that I can't relate to and that I don't want people to see Heidi Skok. Sorry, I didn't see that I was low there.
No problem. So you said, I don't
Um,
want people to see Heidi Skok.
yeah, I don't want people to see Heidi Skok on the stage. I want people to see Baba. I want people to see Kwasi. And my Baba is terrifying. I mean, people leave like, wow, what just happened? I don't want people to see, the character has to come to life. The character sleeps, the character eats, the character breathes, the character goes to the bathroom, the character burps, all of this. I want the character to not be stiff or unmoving. The character has to be a real person to me and not just some staged folly kind of thing, where I was told to move here and told to move there, which you do. Yeah, you have to follow. You have to do to the best of your ability, follow what your director wants, but you have to bring the character to life. And so for me, opera has all of it. It has acting, singing, dancing, the production part of it, paint, art, scenic design. It has everything. So it's a great art form, and it's kind of sad that it's kind of seems to be fledgling right now because people are getting older, the audiences that
Right.
attend opera, and so many opera companies are trying to find ways to be interactive with the younger generation, and it's good. I don't think opera's. People say, "Oh, opera's going to die." I don't believe opera's ever going to die.
No, same
I think
thing
it's
we're going through in
yeah,
locally with our symphony. It's like
it's just
we're
evolving,
we're
right?
trying to get the younger people in, so you try and change it to make it
Right,
different. But I think part of it is to explain it like you're doing now, and you're getting your album out there, and you're actually
right.
incorporating your studio. So tell people about your studio.
Well, I love to help voices because I really don't want people to go down the rough road that I went down. So I tend to help all kinds of voices, pre-professional, professional, the youngest person that I have, and I've never had a person this young, but she was brilliant. Her parents asked me to take her, so I looked, and sure enough, she's 4. So the youngest person I take is 4. And then I think
Wow.
the most advanced student that I have is nearing 80 years young. So
Wow.
I don't believe in age
Nice.
limits. I take, I think, I mean, I'm 56 and I'm going to say that I feel like I'm just getting started, Lisa.
Yes.
And in the opera world, they have this age limit where they say at 30, basically, if you're cut off, you're too old. But dear friends, at 30, you're just getting going.
Yes.
And in opera, especially for the Wagnerian voice, it's not unheard of to just be getting going in your 50s like I am. So don't listen to any of that. But I love to help all kinds of voices. I have rock singers, pop singers, jazz singers, a couple of opera singers, a couple classical singers, a lot of musical theater singers. I have singers making albums and putting them out on Spotify. I have some pretty big students working with me now. There's a wonderful young singer, Naomi Jane. Check her out on Spotify and all of the streaming platforms. She's fantastic. She's gaining a following very, very quickly. So I work with all kinds. I got singers singing in different opera houses, everywhere. I mean, I just kind of work. I love to build technique and I love to build confidence in singers. I love to teach self-love
And I
because
want people
that's
to know you've got, oh, I'm sorry, self-love.
and
Go ahead.
I think the self-love thing is the most important thing and the confidence because in this business, not often are you going to hear that you're good. Or I
No,
don't know why that is.
right.
People don't want to praise, and that's the sad thing about.
Competitive. We're all so competitive.
And it's so silly because I'm a huge believer that there's a place for all of us,
Yes, there's room
you
for
know?
everybody.
Yeah, otherwise you wouldn't be given your gift and you wouldn't be
No.
here, as you know. So, yeah, so I don't believe in any of that stuff, but I help all kinds of singers and I build a vocal technique that really is strong and yet gentle. I call it rest. It's resonance, sensory, tactile. I believe in sensation and feeling things. I show it through different types of, tools that I have here in the toys, I call them.
Right, because you
Um,
add physical movement. It's not, I don't want
yeah,
people to think you're standing in front of a mic or you're standing there clutching your
no,
hands together, old school
no,
style. I've seen you do videos on a balancing board and working your
right,
scales and doing physical move with the breath work. And
right.
then people can look at your videos and learn more about square breath, which I learned in therapy. And
Yeah.
you use that to ground and,
Yeah,
people need to look at that for several
I'm
times a day. Fill your lungs.
right. I'm huge into breath work. I mean, I start every lesson with positive affirmation cards of all kinds of different
Nice.
kinds. And I
Oh,
have the singers sit in a chair and then they put their feet on this med massager that I have so they get their circulation really going through their feet.
I'm
And
in.
then and I'd love to help you. But you have a beautiful voice. So
My voice. All right. So what is my voice? What do we think my key would be then? I was in a singing group, but it had nothing
well,
to do with knowing much.
your speaking voice to me sounds like an alto.
An alto.
Yeah, like my voice. I kind of hear my voice in yours.
Gonna
So,
take a
yeah.
sentimental
There
journey.
you
Ba,
go.
ba, ba, ba.
There you go. There you go. So, in order for you to do that, the breath work is so hugely important. So, after we do affirmation cards, I do a lot of breathing exercises. I have a
Oh,
8 breathing exercises that I call the Skok Studio breathing platform, and we work from there. So, and then we do tech work, and then people sing what they want to sing, and we have a good time. It's positive in here. No
I love
negativity.
that. So how can
Yeah.
people find that? I know you do a lot online.
Yeah,
So,
you would just go to Skoke Studio. Yes, I do. Like a third of my business is online. That's really growing. I'm looking at you, Lisa, on an 82-inch screen, and
oh,
I have my earbuds in my ears, and I have the setup of the mic, and everything goes through a mixer, so we really hear you really well. And we set the singer up on the other side with all the right settings and all the right equipment. So I work with people all over the country, as far away as California and then even into Vermont. So, and then if you want to come in too, I'm in the greater Cleveland area, Northeast Ohio. I have people coming in from Akron, Westlake, Cleveland. So it's not just Lake County people. And you just come in and yeah, so you'd go to skokestudio.org/lessons and you'd sign up for a welcome lesson.
and that's
And we take it from there. S
SKOK, just so
yes.
people understand phonetically.
Yes, SKOK Studio, one word, at skokstudio.org/lessons.
And congratulations again on your new album. I'll be adding a link to that as well. I think
Thank you so much,
I'm
Lisa.
so
I'm
glad you
excited.
found your voice, woman, and that we finally connected. And I can't
Hmm.
let you go before asking you to share a dare or a prank story, one you know of, or anything like that, anything in
You
that
know,
realm.
Lisa, I racked my brain about all of that, and I've enjoyed watching your podcasts and hearing your stories of all the pranks, and that pranking is your passion, and I just
It is.
absolutely loved that. I love it. I think for me, after really thinking about it, I think the biggest prank that's ever happened in my life was going down the wrong road for 20 plus years as a soprano. I mean, talk about a prank to yourself, you
Right.
know?
Right. And
That's,
believing
yeah.
others. Yes.
Yeah, and I believed others when they all were saying I was a soprano, and I'm just not. And I think it's funny. You got to laugh at it. Like people say, are you like angry about that at people that did that and helped you go down that wrong road? And I'm like, absolutely not.
At
I'm
least you
best
found it.
friends with,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm so friendly with all of them because they all helped me in some way, shape, or form. And people only know what they can know, and people only do the best that they can. And so it's
Right.
funny. It's a funny prank.
And
It really
yeah,
is.
it is. And some people may have said, it just doesn't feel right. I'm not doing this anymore.
Yeah.
So thank goodness to you, Heidi, that you kept with it. You went through it. You found your beautiful voice and you're helping others because otherwise we wouldn't have your brand new album out there and the birds wouldn't be singing brighter because of you. So I'm glad you
Thank
stuck with
you.
it and you
You're so
didn't give
kind.
up.
Me
So I'm
too.
honored to have chatted with you, Heidi Skok. And
Thank
remember,
you.
we can only be strangers once. And I
Right.
invite you to stay weird.
I will. I'll join you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa.